that ties it all together. And so we have the foundation, we have the tools, but we need the advertising to raise the awareness of the consumers so that they know that you're the dealership they need to go to, and that you have all the programs and promotions to help capture the sale. So at that point, I'll hand it over to Chris.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to talk about local marketing today, some of the tactics that I use, and some of the planning that goes into setting up campaigns, successful campaigns to help your business grow. What this really is about those tools. You help your customers every day find the right tool that they need and want to fulfill their job, and the tool I use is data. So really at the end of this, I hope the takeaway is that you embrace that kind of culture of just information and data. The more that you have about your market and your customers and your products, the more that we can work together as advertisers to help you come up with the most successful campaigns and help your business grow. So let's talk a little about local marketing. These are some of the channels that we use to help advertise your business. Outdoor, and print, and TV, and internet, and radio, and all those sort of mediums here. Those are sort of, we've traditionally talked about those as traditional or internet or offline and online. Those sort of silos are being broken down each day because we're really looking to kind of interrupt consumers in a pattern. So I think about it like this: instead of saying you need to be on this, this medium or this output, you really want to look at in your market what consumers are doing, and then we can use data and tools to help kind of extrapolate what those patterns are doing. So I'll just give you a personal example because I think I follow on some of your demos as well. Here's my daily pattern. I drive the kids to school, drive to the office, come home, pick up the mail, do some kid stuff and life stuff and work stuff, and at the end of the day, I sit down and watch TV, and then while I'm watching TV, I'm also on my phone. So in a daily pattern of my consumer behavior, I'm interacting with all of these mediums. So it's not about getting onto one, it's about getting onto multiple of these mediums so that I may not even realize this yet, but when I come and I'm ready to make a decision on getting some outdoor power equipment, kind of keeping up with my neighbor who always has the best toys, I'm going to put up a little query in my brain, and it's going to come back. And if I've had an interaction with your company along my daily pattern, either I saw a billboard or saw it on my phone, my brain will automatically kind of connect those dots for me, and now I'm more informed and your brand has more awareness. So really it's not just getting on these mediums, it's using the tools to kind of get there at the right time to the right people with the right messaging. So I love this quote here: most of the world will either make decisions by guessing or using their gut. They will either be lucky or wrong. You have more information available to you now about your customers and products and data than you've ever had before. You know them at a very personal level. You know your customers. I can use tools from Google and print vendors to kind of see population and expectation of forecasting. And then we have something we'll talk about a little bit from Cub, the MPA data. When you layer all of those together, all of that information, you have more of a clear picture of what you need to do for your campaign. Now this may not be a need right now. Some of you are in rural markets and you don't need as much advertising, but it is expanding. As we mentioned, everyone's on their phones, mobile usage is going up, internet usage is going up. Your future customers are being born with phones in their hands right now. So you want to be prepared, not just for your customers of today, but the customers of tomorrow. So how do we do this? We start at the beginning with a good sound plan. We do this for customers spending $1,000 or $1 million. It always starts with a very simplified, making sure we're doing it together in advance, writing everything down so there's no ambiguity about what we're doing. We're setting specific goals, we're setting budgets, and we're setting a calendar. If you're going to get busy running your business, we're going to get busy on our side, so we're making sure that we're all set with a plan and a budget and a calendar, that everyone's on the same page, makes it more of a successful process. So how do we start to kind of divulge into getting that information? Let's start with a simple one. Here's a database of your potential customers. We want to find patterns here, so we take that and we plot it. So you can see on your map sort of patterns emerge. Do you have a cluster of customers? Is there an area that you don't have as many customers? So then we can set and kind of bid up or hyper-target specific zip code, specific regions. Maybe you have a new neighborhood in your area. We can kind of visually see that and helps us make more informed decisions. So now we start to see some of the geographic data. Let's look at the demographic data. So we can use something with MPA data from Cub, and we start to kind of divide it into sort of XY axis here about opportunity and penetration. How much of your competition is there? How much opportunity is there? So you start to marry these together of demo and geo, and you start to come up with the data to make a more informed decision. Now the MPA data level, I'm sure you've heard that from your Cub reps, If you haven't taken advantage of that, maybe me being a third voice of kind of encouraging you to do so, all you have to do is request it. It helps understand a little bit in that sort of visual way your opportunity. So it targets these customers, it flags them as potential future buyer, and they're using multiple data sets to come up with this. So it's not just guessing, it's using science and data to make more informed decisions about what type of products you want to offer, what type of zips you want to go after, and you're using that together to, again, the more informed you are, the more of a competitive advantage you have in your market. So these are some of the questions that NPA data can answer. Specifically, where and what products you should advertise. So it's looking at how strong the market is for a potential product and looking at the upside of what you should weight your ads to. So that's exactly it. We have finite budgets. It almost makes it more of a challenge when you have a finite budget in a finite area to be as effective as possible. So you want to make sure that you're using the right products and the right data to really emphasize that in specific zip codes and specific products. So here's kind of a visual representation of what that NPA data can look at. So it's looking at all these little data points. Home, lot, square footage, that's important. Population density, how important vehicles are in that family. So you start to put these together, like I said, layers. You start to blend that all together, and the sort of data emerges of what you should be doing and what you should be advertising. So here's the media mix here. We talk about omni-channel in my world, about digital marketing, when we talk about the screen being a TV screen or a phone, it all blends together. I like to think about it as omni-channel, just all of these different mediums sort of blending together. You really want to make sure that your brand is on multiple channels. Now, I know budgets are limited, but so we kind of say as a benchmark internally, 20% of your budget should be going to internet marketing in some capacity, social media, branding, display, something like that, just to have a kind of foot in the door as far as reaching your customers, because they may see you in print. They may have seen your commercial, but they're looking on their phones. And when you can connect those dots and they see that brand, that extra recognition, you just have a stronger brand presence when you do that. So let's talk about where do I start? How many out there by show of hands have claimed and are actively managed your Google My Business listing? That's good. If you haven't done that, I encourage you, it's a very simple process. Our company put together a pretty easy kind of step-by-step processes on your community site. You can download that. This is a free product by Google. You can just go to Google and search for your company name. And even if you claim it, I think that's important because this is something that you may not know. You can claim it and you're in control, but you're not in total control. If a couple customers in your area make a suggestion to Google about your hours of operation or something else you offer, they will change your Google My Business listing and they will just change it. So you need to be aware of what's happening and what your listing says. The same thing internally. Google can find some information about your company on another website, another directory, and they will change your Google My Business listing. They'll give you a warning, but they're just going to change it. So making sure that you've claimed that listing and are actively managing it is very important. The second part of that is reviews. So I will say this in case you haven't heard it, Google reviews are the single most important type of review you can get for your company, period. I'll tell you why. When you put a good review out online, put it on your website, you can get it from Facebook or any of these other sources, that's great. You're sort of spreading this word of mouth, you're creating kind of a product promoter or brand promoter. Google uses those reviews in multiple ways. They look at a company in your area, they look at the number of reviews you have, the average rating, are you responding to those reviews? What are people saying in them? So they use those same sort of data points and they put that together so when someone in your company, someone in your area is looking for a non-branded search, not your company, just a non-branded search, the companies that have more reviews, better reviews, are more likely to show up higher in search, period. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. We talked to some people after this presentation yesterday. You can request from Google, you can put a sign on your door that says, leave me a Google review. They will give that to you for free. You should ask your customers. You can email your customers. We actually have at our company multiple software options where you can text your customers and email them. It kind of has links directly into your Google listing. But if you're not doing that today, I encourage you when you go home, just figure a way of asking those customers multiple times. Asking them personally when you're selling them, but doing a follow-up and some sort of communication, like I said, email or text. You will see the return rate come. You'll see reviews start to grow. And the reality is when you go to do searches in your own area, your company will start to stand out and have more of a competitive advantage. And those reviews, I'll spare you the data, the studies that have kind of just proven that, but companies with more reviews and better reviews, they just win. So make sure that you're doing that for your Google My Business listing. It's free. It's free to ask, it's free to claim it, so that's something very important to start with. We're going to talk about a couple different ecosystems here. The first is Google. Google owns Google and YouTube, which are the two number 1 and number 2 search engines in the world. So that's where your customers are. They also do something we have called the Google Display Network. So there are millions of websites out there. Now, they're not directly under Google control, but they've left space on their site for advertising. So Google can then scan those sites, determine what it's about, and put in categories, and then the advertisers, I can match your brand, match your products to those related sites, and I can just put those display ads, like you see on this top left one, about finance or an offer. I can put those in front of your potential customers using as much data as I can to then drive them down to your dealer page on Cup's site. I can also do things like pay-per-click, that middle section here, on a mobile phone when they're going to search for power equipment or your specific company. I can put that ad in again, drive them. And then the final one is a desktop version. So it's really making sure within that Google ecosystem that you're on the display network, you're PPC, you're really reaching customers in that natural patterns that they're naturally doing. The second one is social. So Facebook owns Instagram, and you can kind of advertise from the same platform there. But what I want to say here is this: everyone's on social, but we're all just scrolling. I mean, you have such a small amount of time to really capture those customers' attention that you want to make sure it's visual. Now, Cub always has some good creative here, so it's naturally getting some more attention, but on the right-hand side, these videos we just have seen over the last year, they are just performing much better. We're seeing better interaction rates, people are clicking them, they're just more engaging, because when you think about that, you're kind of scrolling through, maybe watching TV, those will at least capture your attention. So if you're not doing that, I encourage you as well to kind of utilize that video in your advertising program as well. The final thing is tracking. So you can have the best plan, you can have the best intent here, but if it's not really working for you, this is where the sort of truth, the rubber hits the road, so to speak. There are a million metrics you can look at when you're talking about advertising and specific digital advertising. Even Google this week has kind of said, don't get too hyper-focused on some of these secondary and tertiary metrics like click-through rate and some of these things. They're important. What you're really looking for are impressions and clicks. Those are your two main metrics. So when you set that plan, we set that plan together about how much we can anticipate. This is the proof. You want to make sure that your brand is getting out there as much as possible with the impressions, hopefully on sites and related things that your customers are naturally interested in. And then really it's the clicks. That's how we know that we're not really paying necessarily for the impression, we're paying for the clicks. So you want to make sure that you're getting as many clicks as possible from the right sources, really. So the point of that being is making sure you have tracking. No matter what you do here for advertising, making sure you have some sort of substantiation with the proof here. This is something we build internally, but making sure that you have tracking for your campaign performance. Okay, that's kind of the basis of what I want to talk about today. It really boils down to some simple things. Making sure that you're planning carefully and using as much data as you can to make informed decisions so you know you're spending your budget as effectively as possible. Making sure that you understand your customer market. It's not just about you, it's whoever you work with at advertising. You have that open communication so you know we're all on the same page together of who you want to target and what you want to sell them. Use that MPA data insight. This is a free resource for you. It helps visualize some of your data points. Take advantage of it. Utilize that in your planning and budgeting and your marketing so you can get more information because you'll have more of a competitive advantage. Diversify your media mix. Like I said, it's an omni-channel. That's how we are. We're busy with a million things we've got going on in our life. If I can see a brand in a couple different places, my brain doesn't work for me. It connects the dot and your brand sort of rises to the top here. So diversify where you're placing your channels and where you're placing your brand. And then finally, it's track and report. Nothing counts unless you can kind of see it. Some of those things that we've heard this before where I don't see my social ads, well, you may not fall in your own demo before you're trying to go after. So you might not see your ads, but with reporting, you can at least quantify the success and quantify that you spent your dollars effectively. And that's all I got. We'll turn it back to them.
So Chris, that was a lot of really, really good information, and your number one bullet point was plan carefully, but where do you start? I felt a little overwhelmed with what you saw today. Where do you start?
I start with what are you trying to accomplish with your campaign? What do you want to accomplish with this marketing?
And then you can contact your BDM, your sales guy.
Mm-hmm. And then they sort of connect the dots with us or with your advertiser to sort of put together, start from there.
I felt it was really good information. So now I might know where to start now.
Yeah.
So really just to boil it down, we had to kind of get presentation last year was, yesterday was 45 minutes, so we do have a lot of time for questions. But just to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about today, really use this information as you're working with